What is commissioning software and what are the benefits of using commissioning software on your projects?
You're listening to the Industrial Commissioning Association podcast, where we discuss best practices for industrial plant process and energy system commissioning. Get ready to say no to outdated industry norms and say yes to improved project performance. Here's your host, Paul Turner.
So a lot of projects may still be using paper and spreadsheets to manage and track commissioning. While this used to work 20, 30, 40 years ago, it really is an inefficient way to manage today's complex projects. There's just so much information involved and so many details to keep track of that it's a brutal brute force process to try and keep track of all these details in spreadsheets. There's so many options for commissioning software on the market now that make it much easier to manage and track commissioning. So what is commissioning software? Commissioning software is more than just a method to track a bunch of to-do items on your project. It's much more than an Excel sheet with just a bunch of things to do. The really good commissioning software programs implement workflows that allow you to manage your gated commissioning workflows that spreadsheets that Excel just can't do. In Excel, all you get is a list of things, but when you implement the right commissioning software, you can manage all the subsystems and systems on your project, that grouping of equipment, and manage each of these through various stages of completion through your gated commissioning workflows. So as subsystems are being completed from construction, you can track the completion of those items with a very crystal clear definition of what complete means, what done actually means, and so that everyone working on your project can see all the very specific details of exactly what's required to meet that particular milestone and completion for that subsystem. So as each of these subsystems and systems progress through the various stages of your commissioning process, through construction completions, pre-commissioning, commissioning, startup, performance verification, you can manage each of these subsystems through these various stages and make sure that nothing gets missed and that everything is tracked. You can track every tagged piece of equipment, you can track every document, and you know in real time, looking into your commissioning software, the status of everything that's on site and what state of completion it's in. With so many big details and so many small details down to every setting that's applied on projects, there's just too many things to keep track of in any sort of manual way in Excel other than using commissioning software to manage your processes. When project teams are still using Excel, it really means that they're putting that process element to manage commissioning on their people entirely because they have no system to manage commissioning. It's entirely a people process. And when you have really smart people on your team, you can do that, but you're really putting that burden on them to manage the process and not giving anyone else on your project visibility in how this commissioning process works or the stages of where things are at within the process. When you implement commissioning software, you're relieving the burden from the people and backing up their expertise with a system that lets them manage and track all the details on site. With the balance of really good people and really good processes, then you have a very robust commissioning process implemented on your project to manage the completion of your projects. So what are the benefits of commissioning software? The first benefit is everyone gets plant-wide access and visibility into the status of the project. The really good software systems, when implemented properly, can give you a dashboard view, and you can see just with a glance where every particular subsystem and system is within the completion process, what's outstanding from a construction standpoint, what's outstanding from a checklist standpoint, and you can get a snapshot view of your project in real time at any point in the day. You can't get that with Excel. A lot of the times there's an individual that's managing the Excel sheet and they're responsible to update it. Maybe they issue an update once or twice a week, and you're always waiting for an update to the spreadsheet to see where things are at. And projects are moving pretty fast. We can't wait until Friday's spreadsheet update to determine where things are at. When we've got activities planned for Tuesday morning, we want to know by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, did those activities get complete or not? Because that's going to determine what we need to do on Wednesday, the next day after, if things didn't progress as they needed to. The other benefit of plant-wide access is It's not realistic to expect everyone on the project to be an expert with commissioning. We need to have them focus on their area of expertise. And nobody is going to understand what commissioning is all about by looking into Excel tracking sheets. That's not going to explain anything to anybody on what commissioning is all about. But with the right commissioning software, you can actually communicate to people that don't need to know about commissioning, but communicate in a way in how their role fits into a successful commissioning process to give them visibility into what success looks like during commissioning. When commissioning software is used properly, you can tell everybody on the project, all design groups, construction groups, exactly what they need to do and when they need to have it done by in order not to impact the end of the project for successful completion. And when you can break down the details to that level to show everybody exactly what they need to do and when they need to do it, then they don't need to understand the details of commissioning. They just need visibility into how their role is going to feed into a successful commissioning and startup process. So having a communication tool like properly structured commissioning software is beneficial to everyone on the project because then they can have visibility into what commissioning is all about and how they can contribute to the end of the project's success. Another benefit of commissioning software, like we mentioned earlier, is real-time progress tracking. You're never going to get that from Excel. You're always waiting for an update from the field, from someone that needs to input that into an Excel sheet, and it just becomes brutal to try and keep your Excel sheets up to date. I've worked on projects where there's so many lists that you need a list just to keep track of all your lists, and you spend all your time in meetings reviewing these lists of what's done and what's not, and closing out these items. It's brutal. When you use commissioning software, each individual person gets that visibility to see in the software in real time what's done and what's not done, and you don't need a meeting to review that. When you look in the software and you can see issues or things that are not progressing, then you know exactly who you need to go talk to address the issues, see if there's something that's holding them up, if they're missing resources, or any way that we can help them better do their job so that they can complete their piece and feed into the overall successful commissioning and startup sequence. Another benefit of commissioning software is if you get the right commissioning software, it has all of your checklist templates already built into the software. So in days past, you'd have to go write a checklist to do your motor bump test, and you'd have to go write a checklist to do flushing, and you'd have to go write another checklist to do your motor checks or your transformer checks. Well, all of that is now included in commissioning software. It's as simple as a drop-down menu where you select that checklist and it's added to your list. You can create new templates, they're all loaded into there. And once you structure your software the first time, then it becomes so much easier later in the project or on your next project because all of your document templates are there and you just choose them, drag and drop, add them into your workflows, and it becomes so much easier to prepare your documentation. You can skip that whole review time for setting up checklists because this is the agreed to checklist, this is what we use, and it's all ready to go for each project. Another benefit of commissioning software is I'm sure you've gotten a checklist from the field and it's filled out in pen on paper and you can't quite read what's on that paper. There's some transcription errors. It doesn't quite make sense. Commissioning software allows you to skip that whole paper process because when results are being recorded in the field, they're being recorded directly into a digital system. You can use this on a phone, you can use this on a tablet, you can use this on your laptop, and information is getting entered directly into the system. So you lose a lot of that misinterpretation or data transcription errors that you can sometimes get with illegible handwriting. And with that, then you also get archived digital data. Rather than just a scanned PDF with a bunch of information that someone has to go read, you get the actual value loaded into your commissioning software. You can even load the pass-fail criteria and know right away if a particular device has passed or failed its test when that data value is entered into the system, and it'll tell you pass or fail right away. That saves a lot of time. The tech in the field can know there's a problem and probably troubleshoot and diagnose it right there on the spot, rather than having to send a data point back to the office for engineering to review, to then give feedback and return to the field and say there's an error. You can get real-time results of accurate results right away. Another benefit of commissioning software, we mentioned this a bit earlier, is it actually allows you to manage your gated commissioning workflows. So as each subsystem and system is progressing through your gated commissioning process, you can track what's complete and what's not complete to know if a particular subsystem or system is ready to move to the next stage, or if there's still punch items that need to be addressed before further stages of testing progress. And another benefit of commissioning software is documentation handover at the end of the project. This used to be a nightmare where the poor summer student would be locked in a room for many months and have to try and make sense of all this paper and collate it into turnover binders at the end of the project. That process is so much easier. If you've set up your commissioning software and used it properly, then all of your documentation and everything that's needed is already within your CMS software. You can generate your handover packages digitally, which is what people want these days anyways, so that they can archive that and search it electronically rather than having a room full of binders and trying to find the information that you need 5 years after the plant goes into service. So CMS software has significantly made documentation handover at the end of the project much easier. Sometimes you might hear some objections to using commissioning software. Some might say that it's too complex and they don't want to get it set up. They'd rather stick with spreadsheets because they know how to use them, they're comfortable with them, and it would be too much of a change to get people to use a new system. If you get the right system and you have good data, a lot of these systems are pretty easy to set up. There can sometimes be a little bit of work massaging data and getting it in the right form to load into the system, but once you go through that little bit of upfront effort, then the systems are pretty easy to use and pretty intuitive that when people start using them in the field, they see the value rather than struggling with paperwork. Another objection you might hear is it's too expensive, or we can't convince management to pay for software. As you know, each day of commissioning is usually pretty valuable. So if you can save just 1 day of testing in the field, that usually pays for the cost of your software and setup to use it. When you use these systems, you're completing projects much more efficiently. So you're saving weeks or even potentially months with a more streamlined and efficient software system as opposed to spreadsheets. So it's pretty easy to do the cost-benefit analysis and see that the cost of software easily pays for itself in helping the team complete the work more efficiently. Sometimes you'll hear from project teams, well, we're already behind. Commissioning is starting pretty soon. We don't have time to look at software and get it set up. We need to start testing now. Well, that's a function of late planning for commissioning, but even if that's the case, you can get these systems set up pretty quickly, and they're really going to help you complete your project if you're already behind, as opposed to scrambling to try to figure out things with spreadsheets. Another objection you might hear is, well, people just aren't going to use it. They've been using spreadsheets for so long, they don't want to make the change to commissioning software. And if you have bad commissioning software that people aren't seeing the value from, then that's certainly going to be the case. But once people start using the right systems and are getting value and seeing how it can actually help them be more efficient and complete their work, they pretty quickly adapt and learn to use these new systems. And when new people are joining projects, they're expecting these systems. They don't want to join a project that's using spreadsheets and an old, outdated method of tracking. They're coming to projects with their phone in hand, and they want to be able to use more advanced systems to help them do their work. They're not interested in trying to figure out and struggle with your old, outdated spreadsheet processes. Another objection you might hear is, well, my commissioning processes are unique. My project is a unique special snowflake. How could commissioning software possibly manage my complex commissioning on my projects? This is a common concern that I hear, and for those that maybe aren't familiar with commissioning software or have never used it before, I can see why people might think that. In the software you might be used to for Excel and Word, they're pretty rigid, but all of these commissioning softwares are very flexible, and that's why they require a little bit of upfront configuration to program your unique project configurations into the system and your unique commissioning workflows. But with a little bit of upfront effort to configure these, then they can meet your exact project needs in how you do your particular commissioning. We want to use software that can adapt to the way that you do commissioning. It can't be the other way around. You don't want to have to modify your commissioning processes based on how a software is telling you how to do it. But when you get the right system, it has the flexibility to adapt to exactly how you do your work and make it more efficient. And another objection you might hear is, well, we'd like to use commissioning software, but our IT department just isn't going to allow it. Now, when you get the right commissioning software set up, these systems are built on the leading edge technology and the most advanced server system security that's available in the world. I guarantee that Amazon and Google and Facebook and these big data companies that are implementing these cutting edge security strategies have far more secure systems than your IT department of 6 can put together. A lot of these systems are even more secure than your corporate network. So you can let your IT department know that security is not an issue, that these systems are pretty secure. So let's next answer, why do you need to be using commissioning software? Some groups have been using spreadsheets for a long time and they're working okay, but now we're on the verge of a very big transformation with all the AI things that you hear in the news. A lot has changed in the last couple of years, but I can only imagine in the next few years that things are going to change even more with regards to artificial intelligence. And if you're not gathering this data on your projects and archiving it electronically, then you're not going to have anything to feed to the AI systems when they get even better. And commissioning is really a best use case for AI to analyze and predict better outcomes on projects. On our large projects, they're producing an immense amount of data, particularly during commissioning when reams of information is being produced, reports are being produced, workflows are being produced, information from test systems is being produced, and this is a perfect data set for artificial intelligence systems to analyze. So none of the commissioning software systems are fully advanced and integrated with AI, but check back maybe even only in a few months because things are advancing pretty quickly, and I imagine these systems are going to get quite advanced over the next 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever that time frame is, to integrate these AI systems into how we manage our projects, and they're going to become quite powerful. So if you're still using spreadsheets now, can you really imagine a future in 5 years from now or 10 years from now when you're still using spreadsheets when all of these advanced AI systems exist? I don't see a future where Excel is still being used in 5-10 years from now. So you do need to adapt, and the question is, when are you going to adapt? Are you going to stop using your spreadsheets and advance to a more modern system in 5 years from now, or are you going to make that change now? If you need to make that change in 5 years from now, then you might as well make that change now and start taking advantage of these technologies that exist so you can improve your project performance now. So now let's look at, how do you select the best commissioning software? The last time I counted, I found 27 different commissioning software packages that are on the market, and I'm sure there's a few more that I missed as well. There definitely seems to be lots to choose from. Some of the systems that are out there are quite advanced and match your actual workflows that take place in the field. Some of them are a little bit outdated, and I would stay away from those. Some of them are better suited to oil and gas. Others are better suited to, say, the power industry, for example. So to make selecting the right CMS software package easier for your projects, what we've done at the Industrial Commissioning Association is we've compiled all the best ones. We've gathered case studies, reviews, customer feedback, and you can get all of this information for the leading software packages within the members area of the Industrial Commissioning Association. So if you don't already have your free membership, be sure to check out the members area to help you with review of the leading software platforms that are out there to help you select the best one for your projects. So if you're looking for commissioning software, I hope this has helped you get an idea of what commissioning software is and why we should be doing it, as well as giving you some things to think about in how to select your best software. So be sure to check out the members area to learn more about some of the commissioning software packages that are available, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. To become a member of the Industrial Commissioning Association, visit icxa.net. Members get access to commissioning standards, procurement specifications, commissioning training and certification, plus many more specialized resources to help you with commissioning of your industrial plant process and energy systems. Visit icxa.net for more information.